Hi there. Welcome to my computer room. You'll see bits and pieces of things I need to run the computer with, and so I apologize for the mess. I do need to keep myself entertained or hydrated. Um, but this is my work environment. This is where we're going to get a lot of work done. We're going to build a lot of cool stuff. And this is kind of my space to do the work that I do. Now, what is it I'm trying to do today? Well, what I'm trying to do today is build for you an app from scratch. You're going to see the whole process. I don't even know what I'm going to build. We're going to think through that together. And you're going to see every bit and piece of it. The frustration, the problems, the mistakes. And hopefully by the end of this video, we're going to have something working, something cool to look at. But that's the goal. Now, obviously, I'm not going to do this all in one sitting. How cool can a 15-20 minute project be? So you'll see that my clothes will change day to day. I will not always be wearing this black t-shirt. I will be doing this in probably a couple, maybe a lot of sessions, depending on what we decide to do. And you're also going to see me speed up through kind of the videos that I do. If there's an area that's I'm just slogging through really bad code, I'm gonna speed that up for you. So hopefully you'll get to see kind of an organic process by the end of this. Now, let's get right into it. What is our project? Now, for those of you who are kind of observant, you'll see kind of Android emulator here. That kind of suggests, we're probably working on an app, probably an Android app, and you'd be correct. So you'll see that I am looking at building something with Flutter. Flutter is, let's just go with Google's definition here. Flutter is Google's UI toolkit for building beautiful, natively compiled applications for mobile, web, and desktop from a single code base. To translate that, Flutter uses its own language, Dart, to build apps, and you write it once and you can deploy it to mobile, so both iOS and Android fairly easily, and coming soon or in kind of not so polished phases are web and desktop exports. So the reason why I'm looking at Flutter this morning is because Flutter support for Windows Desktop is now in alpha. I think this is going to be a really cool way to build desktop applications. That has been barren for a long time. So for me, it's fun to build something useful on the phone, but anytime I needed to build something, for use on my computer or for work, I've been going to build web apps instead. So they have to run on Chrome or Firefox or Edge. So having kind of a clickable exe file is just kind of cool. So I wanted to try that out. Now, this brings me to my second point. You'll see that on my other tab here, I have Write Your First Flutter App, Part 1 opened. This probably doesn't bode well for us. The truth is, I am not a programmer by trade. And so I've been building kind of hobby apps and little projects for many years now, probably 7 or 8 years. So I'd say, I kind of know what I'm doing, but really I don't. So in terms of Flutter, this is kind of a learning experience. But I think this is what's going to make this video, this channel kind of interesting. I'm going to be learning as I go. You're going to watch me kind of figure it out. And so you'll see that even if you don't know everything, even if you don't know kind of the documentation inside and out, I can't recite the Flutter gallery. Okay, that's not a great example, but I can't recite what widgets Flutter has. That's not the point. The point is kind of problem solving and building this out step by step. So it's always pretty frustrating for me because I work in an environment where I see a lot of very seasoned programmers that kind of just are able to spit everything out on a page. They've been doing the same thing for a decade, and so they know everything. But I think the fun part is building something without really knowing what you're building, without really knowing what tools you have, and hoping that you get something cool out of it at the end. So I'm not going into this completely blind. I thought I'd just show you in my emulator. I have kind of a couple Flutter apps that I've built. The Hello World one is the Hello World application. It's unchanged, I think. But you click a button and you go. This is their demo for Flutter. But what's really cool is that you can see the Flutter demo on the web as well. So these are web demos, and you can see that you can build all of these things, and it is entirely available on kind of a Chrome interface as well. And what I'm hoping to do is to build something interesting and move it into a Windows setting. So just kind of other kind of demos I thought I'd just show you. Flutter is pretty powerful, so here is another one that I built a while ago. You can kind of put in a name, name 1, and the idea is you kind of track it every day, and you're able to later on see a calendar of what's happening. So, very minor project. Do I really know what I'm doing? Not really, not at all. But let's go straight into it. So I've already set kind of my expectations. What I'm hoping to do is build something for Windows. So let's just get this straight in. Flutter, new project. Let's call this desktop test. Okay, I think I will create a new folder, desktop test. Test, and then let's create this folder. Excellent. So we have a new project. You can ignore what I was working on. Got a brand new project running. So what's really cool about Flutter is that it is all in one. If you've ever built an app on Android Studio or Eclipse, you have kind of a separate file. So over here, you might run your logic, and then on a separate XML file, you'd have the layout. In Flutter, you have it all in one. So here you have a class, and then you have these widgets with title and theme. So the idea is your visual elements are right here. Visual density, primary swatch. These are all kind of design decisions. But if you go further down, you'll see that on the same page, right here, you have kind of the logic. Here's the counter. What happens when you increment it? You increase the counter by 1. Pretty kind of simple stuff. So let's just take a look and see how that looks. You build it. The first time it does take a bit to debug, and I'm just gonna wait here. Okay, so here we go. You see we have, of course, the exact same Hello World demo as before. So here we go, you click it, that triggers the increment counter function, which increases by 1. Very quickly, we can change. Let's just keep both of these in view for now. You can change the design and get an instant view of it right on the page here. So let's say we go green instead. We just go, we just save, I believe, and it changes. And this feature in Flutter is called Hot Reload. It's super useful because you don't need to kind of recompile, that initial wait time we had. You don't need to wait for that every single time you make a change. So if you were really interested, you can kind of just test it out. Instead of figuring all this out at the start, you just save. Oh, it is black, not a color. And so you see, things I'm learning. Color is not a subtype of color. Okay, fine. Let's go with yellow. There. I don't know why black isn't a color. We can kind of figure that out afterwards. But the point I'm trying to make is that you can change this to Anson's desktop application. Test application. And we can kind of make this go. Okay, so that's the super easy part. On to the next part. Let's figure out what we want to do here. Cool APIs. Pokemon API, interesting. What is this? Okay. What do we see here? So for those of you who don't know, an API, what does API stand for? Application Programming Interface. I knew that. But the idea is it provides a kind of standard response so that your application, whether it is Android, desktop, web, whether you program it in Flutter or something else, you can always read this. And this format is JSON. So over here, you're going to have to do a bit of sleuthing. But ID 3, is that the number, the Pokemon? Genderless, details, the species is Magnemite. Rate -1. So I'm not sure what these mean exactly, but so you can kind of get a list. Oh, I suppose. Okay, let's break this down really quick. This API allows you to select by gender, and I think this is what's being submitted. I think 3 is probably genderless. Oh, I see. So we chose ID 3, that's coming from here, and then the name of this ID is genderless. So I suppose if I go with gender 2, it might be male or female. So yes, male. And then you get a giant list of Pokemon. Bulbasaur, Charmander, Squirtle, Caterpie, and you kind of go down the list. I think that is all the details it gives us. I don't know my Pokemon well enough, but I could have sworn Bulbasaur could be male or female, so let's just go 1 and see if Bulbasaur shows up. Yes. So ID 1, name is female, Pokemon species, Bulbasaur, URL. So let's go with the next thing. They give you the name of a Pokemon and then another URL. So it looks like another API, another command in the API. And so over here, very cool. So this is what we see for Pokemon. Species 1 is Bulbasaur, and you can kind of see this is the evolution chain. Okay, let's go here. Evolves from certain species. There's a text. Strange seed was planted on its back at birth. Very classic. There's some Japanese in here. I think that might be Chinese. Yeah, ZH, Chinese, and French, and German. Okay, so we have all sorts of descriptions. I was hoping that there might be some images involved. So let's see. Image. Yeah. Image. Okay, that's kind of disappointing. Let's keep looking. I think this is kind of promising. Fun translations. Ooh, this is interesting. So same thing. There is an API. You translate is Doge, dog, Doge. What is that? Is that a language? Oh, that is. Okay, so Doge, if I pronounce that wrong. Dog. Bark, bark, dog. Okay, let's ignore that, but it seems to translate. So you went from good morning, translate through dog, and you get this grr, Shiba, Shiba, wolf, wolf, pant, Shiba, bark, 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 dog, lick, dog, grr. Okay, that is interesting. We won't have to work with images so much. I figure it would be pretty simple. You just get a text input at the top, you put it in, you punch in what you want, it sends it through the API, and then it spits back out kind of the translation. Okay, this one's pretty cool. Therapist, no, it's not good. Icon has dad jokes. NASA's big collection of sciencey APIs. Okay, last one I look at, I swear. Fun translation seems like kind of an easy project to start off with, I think. Very simple, maybe not so ambitious. That would be kind of cool. NASA might have something we can actually use that's worthwhile. So I have no clue what I'm looking at. Mars rover photos, tech transfer. Satellite Situation Center. Information on the daily imagery collected by Discover's Earth polychromatic imaging camera. Image metadata and key information are provided by the JSON API and can be requested by date. Yeah. Okay. Okay, I'm kind of married to the idea of fun translations already. Maybe we can save this for next time. So, let's try and figure this out first. All right, I'm gonna close this out. Close this out. I'm sorry, Pokemon. Maybe next time, but fun translations. Let's try and figure this out. So the public API limits it to 60 calls a day, 5 an hour. So that will limit testing. That's always important to note. For public calls, you don't need any API key. Just invoke the endpoint. Okay. Okay, so you will see from here that Sindarin, I'm pretty sure that's Lord of the Rings, Silmarillion type of thing, but you would go here to api.funtranslations.com/translate. You would post to /Sindarin, and so this is the full URL, /translate/Sindarin.json. And then over here, you have the question mark to indicate a field. And then you put down text equals, and then you have your long string of text. This world has changed. I can feel it in the water. Very classic. But what happens is when you click it, you get a translation. The unbar na changed. Okay, so I hope you guys can see that this text is all very small. Let's go with this. So this is kind of the response you would get. Now let's go straight to pub.dev here. I know that there is a package called HTTP. Okay, so I'm jumping a few steps here. Flutter has all sorts of packages, like everything else, that will make things easier, that are already pre-built. So you'll see kind of the most popular packages here. There's things to, the one I was searching for, HTTP requests, but there's icons. RxStart think it does state management. I'm not sure. Firebase storage, so something to use, something to interact with Firebase, Google Firebase. Toasts are always super helpful. What they do is they have the little pop-up. So, when you open an app, and there's something that pops up at the bottom that says, your battery is running low or something like that. It's not a notification. It's just like a little gray box at the bottom. That's a toast. So you have all these packages. HTTP is an obvious one, and it is by the official publisher. It is by Dart themselves. So I can safely use this and know that, in 2 years and 5 years, this will still be relevant. So how do we install this? You have to add the dependency to the Flutter project we have. We install it afterwards with a get statement, and then we import it. So let's go back. In case you guys aren't aware, I do have a second screen running. You're only going to see one, unfortunately, but you'll see, it's tucked away in my other screen, so I am looking at it for reference. Okay, so when we started this project, it built a whole bunch of folders and files for us. Pubspec.yaml is where we add these dependencies. So let's just put this right here. I don't actually think it goes here. I think it goes one level higher. Yes, okay. And so VS Code automatically fetched that for me. So this is now part of the package, I think. I think it's probably under... Well, it should be in one of these folders. The package it got. It's probably harder to find because I don't think HTTP is going to be full of odd files. Okay, so back to this page here. We got the get, and then we have an example. So it suggests using an async command in the function, and then it names a URL, it gets the URL. Remember, we need to post some information to them, and then they do a quick catch. So if the status code, so if it went through and everything's properly done, they're going to take that response and somehow do something with it. Otherwise, it'll print, request failed with this status response. So let's bring this in here. Where do we want this? Where do we want this? Async. So let's try and change this element right here. You push a button this many times. Let's just add another quick text to it first. So, okay, I'm jumping around a little bit again. These videos aren't really meant to be a step-by-step tutorial. So if you're trying to look for something clean, instructional, this isn't really the right place. But I am going to try and explain as I go. The scaffold is where you're putting all the elements down. Here in the body, there is a center element that centers all the other things. There is a column widget, so it makes a column up and down. And then in that column, you have children, and they stack one on top of the other. So if I wanted another text above this, you push a button this many times, I simply kind of copy and paste. Let's fix this formatting, but let's put this here on top. And we save it. Here we go. So there is a column up and down, and then these are the children's stacked, one on top of the other. And if you change, okay, that won't work too well. Okay, scrap that, but we have this. So I am going to test this as I go, but let's go variable text equals test text. Okay, so we haven't used this, but we can throw this right in here. And so if I save, we have test text, which is a variable right here. Now, we of course want to do something interesting with that variable. So let's start moving this right in. Let's get a URL going. And where was that URL that we had? Right here. Sorry, so I'm just copying the URL from our little Sindarin test. That's a long URL. We're obviously going to clean this later, but let's do this incrementally. I'm going back to the HTTP package. Var response equals await p dot post URL. This is a problem. We need to async this. Don't think I can async a widget. So let's move this out of here and into the actual function. Okay, so I can do async here. That's no problem. HTTP is scribbling red. It's because I forgot to import the package. So here now we have use of the HTTP package. So that's HTTP. Here we go. Okay, so we get a response after we await it, and then let's just make it super interesting, super simple. Sorry, not interesting, but we just print out the response. So response.body, and I am hoping that we will see something in the console. I think we'll need to restart the application. And here we go. Error parsing JSON, malformed JSON. But we have something. We imported the HTTP, we sent something. Obviously, this is causing some sort of issue. So my first half hour is done. I will come back to this tomorrow. Hi, welcome back. This is session number 2 of our desktop test application. Just a quick reminder, I'm doing a whole bunch of probably half-hour sessions or so until we get this done. I don't think we are doing something terribly complicated, so hopefully it'll be fairly fast, and I'll be, of course, splicing and simplifying things as we go. So today, I'm probably going to do a bit more of the heavy lifting and less talking. So let's just go through. Last time, we were stuck here. We were able to import the HTTP package, but we got a bad response. So let's just figure out what's wrong here. Okay, so what we can do is actually post to the URL and send in a better formatted, something that's formatted and not just embedded in the URL. So let's just see how this looks. We have the URL. Probably something. Okay, so they had some cool text here. The world is changed. And do they have a comma? I think they do. I can feel it in the water. I can feel it in the... Okay, so previously, we had a bit of error because we tried to embed the text into the URL. But the HTTP package for Flutter is able to format it properly. You can actually pass a body, and what they're looking for is a text. And here we have success. They give us a translation, which is exactly what we'd expect in Sindarin. At least I think it is. But the key point is it's successful. So now we know the HTTP package is working. Let's move this code somewhere else. So we have done something useful here. So what's really important to know about fetching information from the internet is that it is done asynchronously. What that means is Flutter renders everything else. So here we have elements that it has complete control over. So over here, you have pushed a button this many times. It knows exactly what it is you're looking for. It knows exactly what to put in there. But when it's looking for this text right here, the result, that could depend if the site is down, if your internet is slow, all of those things. So it doesn't know what it is to put in there. So what asynchronous means is that you need to be able, it needs to figure out what to put in the meantime, and then it has to figure out what to put afterwards. So in this case, we moved it out of the main area once we had that figured out, and into this page, my home page state. Over here, you'll see that I created a function called translate Sindarin. For now, it's not really built out. You know, it's that same text that I had before. But you'll see that this is an async function, and it returns a future string, meaning that it will be a string in the future. So when it comes to the interface and what to show, we are building this widget. Here I've created a variable. Please do better naming. I just do this on the fly, but variable text. And this is what happens with translate Sindarin. Now we go down here. Let's just get rid of all of this comment. It's just superfluous. And under the children, so we have this big column with a lot of pieces. Here we have, you have pushed the button this many times. You have a counter. So all of these elements are going to kind of stacked one after the next. Here we have the future builder. I stole this code right off of the Flutter documentation. But basically, you have a future element. That's what will occur in the future. So when the asynchronous function is completed, you'll get this text. So we have this, and then you start building. And in this, you can actually use the data that you're planning to receive. So in this case, they have chosen to call it snapshot. I will choose something else. They've actually done a number of things. It's actually pretty cool. They have accounted for the few scenarios possible. So if snapshot has data, meaning that the function has run properly, then it will, show this check mark. If it fails, let's just mess this up a little. Okay, that was a bad idea. Let's go back. This is because I haven't accounted for anything here. What happens if nothing works? So, but they've handled it properly. So if there's an error, it'll show kind of, you see red error outline, and then they have another kind of catch-all. This is the progress indicator. So if I'm just waiting on the site, it'll just spin in circles until it is ready. So let's just wait for it to come back. Then you'll see, hopefully, you'll see that for a second it had that progress indicator. So that is step one. We have something kind of functional, very, very ugly. Nobody would use an app like this, but the building pieces are here. So I am just going to go radio silent for a little bit to clean this up. Okay, so this is pretty interesting. We have added a text field over here. And what's happening is that on the text field, obviously you have, an area for you to input text. I'm pretty sure you can change kind of the appearance, the size of the box, and so on. But what's really important here is that the text field has this onSubmitted function, and it will call something. Where did it go? Okay. It will call a bunch of functions. So over here, what I've done is I've kept kind of their demo where there is a pop-up. But what's happening also is that I'm calling translate Sindarin. And what's happening is that it's updating over here. It's updating the text, which is right underneath the future builder. So we are getting pretty close to building a really simple Sindarin translator. Let's just change over here. Okay, I think where the next step is that we don't want all of this. For now, maybe we want to keep it this way, but later on, all we care about is the message, which it wouldn't be like this. It wouldn't give me a warning because I'm using something pretty cheap. I'm not paying for it, but we want here. This is what it should look like. Success, contents, translated. So we saw that before. What we're going to have to do is decode. Well, this is in JSON format, so we want to decode that. So if we have body equals response.body, then we can have body dot. Okay, it's probably a package. Okay, I will go silent again while I figure this one out. Okay, I am stuck at the moment, and I think I am gonna call it quits in a bit. But let me just explain what I'm trying to do. So earlier on, I have this async function where I would post and return the body of it, of the response. What I wanted to do is to catch two different errors. First, to make sure that I would go .then and catch error to throw, post incomplete. So this will throw an error if the website doesn't respond. On the other hand, when it gets a response, I throw it into this decode response function. This will sort it out. You probably don't need this, but basically it's saying, is there this key contents in the decoded body? If there is, then I can search up the translated text. That's how it's supposed to be formatted. But if it's not, like it does right now, there's too many requests, then I will pop out another error saying, connection error, please try again. So what I'm struggling with is that it runs through, and I think this code will work. It comes to this future text, but for whatever reason, it's just spinning nonstop, meaning that snapshot isn't showing that it has data or that it has an error. So I am just a little confused. You know what? Let's do a quick test. Is it even returning anything? So here, let's just run it. I'll do the semicolon. Oh, look at that. What is happening here? Okay, that is very interesting. So, so what's happening is that it is over here in the catch error. So we are getting the post and then running it through, but for some reason, it's also catching an error, which is why we have that unlimited circling. But now that I catch the error, it's throwing this up instead. So what's puzzling to me now is that clearly it's going into this then block. The response is accepted by my decode response. It's coming over here. It's returning this connection error because, of course, we've done too many. And I know that because it's printing out this star message. Okay, so as a result, this text, this future text, is not being accepted all the way through. So I will come back to this, but I am just going to leave a note to myself to say catch error is being thrown for some reason, leads to infinite loop in future text if I don't catch the error. Okay, so I will come back to this tomorrow and figure out the next steps. Okay, here goes another session. So we're stuck here, and we figured out that some of the problems were made here in Translate Sindarin. I'm really not sure what the problem is, but... Oh. No, I'm sorry. The problem is within this decode response function. And what I think I settled on is just try and take it out and see how that functions. It may be that I have no clue what I'm doing with the await and async, which is actually quite likely. And we shall see what happens now. Look at that. That is exactly it. So I actually don't think it's the await async that has been the problem. It's the HTTP response. I know that some of them should be designated as future and some of them shouldn't be. I'm really not sure what I'm supposed to do with them when they become future or not. So I assume what was happening was I was pushing it in the wrong kind of in the wrong type, and so that function was not running properly. So I'll just take it out, keep it nice and simple this way. So we have the response. We have the body, we decode it. We'll get rid of this test. So, and now we respond to errors. If there is something wrong, once I run it more than 5 times in an hour, I will say connection error, please try again later. Here, if there's an actual error in getting the response, I'm going to say something went wrong, please restart the app and try again. Not the most descriptive error, but it's something. Nice. So I'm just going to run this a few more times so that we hit the limit. Still getting a response, that's good. There we go. So now we are getting this connection error. This is because we hit the 5 API calls an hour limit. We'll have please try again later in an hour. Okay, that will solve it quite well. Okay. What else do we have? We can get rid of this increment counter. I think that is being used somewhere, so let's just comment that out. Okay, let's start looking at the design aspect of it. So we can get rid of this to do. This is where it's kind of fun. We have a column. We have a bunch of widgets. This text field was where I put in, that is this right here. The future builder, this is this segment right here. You'll see that the future builder has a widget list. I'm gonna need this. Obviously, I like my print statement, so that is generally how I debug things quickly and early on. But I am really not a fan of the icon, so I'm just gonna get rid of these. All right, there is padding and then text, so I'm okay with keeping padding. Icon. I like the indicator rather than the awaiting results. So let's try that. Yeah, so So again, icon. I think it's a bit big though, given how this size the size of the text is. So let's switch it to something like 2020. Just refresh it. Yeah, that looks more like it. This padding widget will be very helpful, I think, in the text field. So, text field, and another one. Okay. So now we have a bit of padding on both ends. The indicator's still kind of overlapping with the text field, but I think we can take a look at the widget builder to see what we can do to customize the text field. So we can outline and label. Oh, okay. So we can put a decoration around it. Okay, let's see how that looks. Oof. That yellow border is pretty terrible. Let's go with green. Hey, that looks pretty good. All right, now we are getting somewhere. The result, I think, the result should be in kind of a box as well. So just looking here, I think this widget children, I think we can actually put the padding around the future builder. Okay. Okay, we have the padding, but let's get some decoration going. Okay, I wonder if the padding widget will allow for that. Nope. Okay. All right. Well, we are in a great place right now. I think we can get rid of this floating button as well. So let's get this. We have something quite nice. Desktop Sindarin Translator. All right, I think I am going to stop here for now and come back and revisit this later on. But we have something functional in a pretty short amount of time, considering all the errors I was running into. So this is pretty awesome, isn't it? We are connecting online, getting some other service to translate English into Sindarin, and outputting it straight back in our app. So the next thing I want to do is really quickly try and see how a Windows format looks like. And then afterwards, we'll clean this up. I don't think there's a whole lot of bells and whistles here that I want to do, but we shall see. Okay, so for the last little bit, I wanted to make a few changes. I wanted to make sure that we're actually picking up the text in our input box and getting some results. So when we refresh it, it's not ideal, but there's a constant spinner because future string is not returning anything. So here in the future builder, what's going to happen is that there's no data or error because we're just waiting on the end user to type something. Now, if they type something, hello world, it'll spin and wait until we get until we run through this translator function. So this is happening in the input, the text field, on submitted, when you click enter or on the keyboard here, will now set translated text to the return of the translator function. It'll pick up the value of the input box, and then afterwards we run set state so that we refresh all of this builder again. And so once that happens, we pick it up. Snapshot now has data, and then it throws out a result. What I did here was to print future building. There's probably a better term here, but that way we can pick up something else. So, hello, bonjour world. Okay. What I don't particularly like here is that it doesn't go with a spinner again. So there's no intervening, oh, we gotta connect. It'll stick with the previous result until it fetches a new result. Now that I'm saying that out loud, I think potentially we can add something up here on submitted so that reset translated text to an unfulfilled future. I am not sure how I do that. But maybe if we do this. Okay, let's see how that looks. It's just waiting for us to type something in. Yeah, I don't think they're particularly happy with that. So I gotta find a way to reset so that the future is empty again. And I will just Google this up. Reset future variable. Right. So in theory, translated text should fire off. In theory, translated text should fire off this async function, which should automatically switch it to an uncompleted state for the future string. And then once it runs through the function, it should switch to complete again. We are seeing this spin probably without going again, probably because it's running too fast. Is that correct? Okay, look at that. It is a desktop application now. So we run it through. We have the same error exactly as we expected. I think generally, we'd expect it to run in this kind of, it looks kind of fat when we maximize it out on computer, and I don't think this is the greatest layout in the world, but wow, look at that. It works and it runs. Okay, so what I'm going to do is take this and try and change the user experience a little bit. So my next steps are to fix these kind of circly progression bars, make sure the errors and the results all make sense. And we are getting extremely close, but I am very, very excited to see that the desktop application works perfectly. But let's take a look at okay, so this is our desktop test. That isn't right. I am just very curious how large this file actually is. Where are we? Here we go. I'm pretty sure we need the DLL as well, but 28.4 megabytes, that is not bad at all. When we look at minimum size electron, minimum file size. Yeah, so at the very least, electron is 33 megabytes, but that said, that's not the amount of saving I would hope for. 28 megabytes is quite comparable, and it's not like we've built something super complex. So this is a little bigger than I'd like, but obviously it's not going to break the bank. I think even if we add a lot of logic to it, we can keep a pretty reasonable size for these files. But how cool is that? A Flutter application that now compiles straight into Windows. All right, I think I am good for the day today. Okay, guys, thanks for watching. As you can see, I struggled quite a bit with this futures issue, but this is pretty critical, I think, when it comes to API. So that was not particularly satisfying for me. You'll see that in the final decisions I made. I've set a value to translated text so that it doesn't have the spinner right off the bat. And then it goes through this future builder, and I just can't seem to bring back the circular progress indicator here. And my best guess is that it's being given a value, translated text, and then say we run the translate function, it doesn't, say we run the translate Sindarin function, it doesn't actually change this future value into some sort of unfulfilled value yet. It just holds its previous value until it gets something new. So that's a bit disappointing. I'm sure there must be a way to reset the state to the uncompleted state. But for now, I'm just going to live with it. This is not a particularly lengthy API, so we don't need the progress indicator. Similarly, you have probably seen me try and stack these a little differently with not a lot of success. I didn't want to put too much time into it because I don't think there is a really great way to make this look nice without a lot of kind of custom images or design work. Essentially, you write your text here, and then click enter, and then you get your translation. So maybe instead of just having that blank at the top. No, you know what? Let's leave it alone. But basically, we have our application completed. It's just one input box and two text fields stacked on top of each other, built with Flutter. It runs on Android, iOS, but what I really wanted to see is how it would look on computer. So here we have the write your text here, and then we'll go with hello world as our English text. We type it in and we get our translation right underneath. And we can do the same thing here. Let's first programming video ever. And unfortunately, we reached our limit, so we get this this next bit, your translation, and that's not quite ideal either. So, maybe not your translation. Let's go with result. Now, if we wanted to be fancy, we can try and pick up on the error or what message gets shown. So if the snapshot data is free limit reached, we would ignore that. I am just gonna stop here because I think I got my objective, and I don't think this is a particularly useful app to keep polishing. So next time we will try something else fun. I think next time I'll try and do something I'm a little more comfortable with, probably on the web development world, or something more data analytics like. But Flutter looks like it would be pretty easy to pick up. I think there's like a ton of these options here where you kind of just have to learn, but if you want something just to throw up onto the canvas, it's quick, it's simple. They have so many widgets for you just to browse that I think it's going to be a lot of fun to try and figure out all of the different possibilities. So until next time, this is the desktop Sindarin Translator.